Our business is electric, but we get our power from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Trevor Clark from Richland Electric Cooperative here, just coming to you with potential for another podcast here. We're going to be hearing from Dana Kelroy and Mary Erickson of the WECN magazine. You receive that magazine each month, highlights what's going on in our local pages as well as going on with our statewide. So we're very excited to have them with us because now you actually get to see or hear from them on how this is actually put together. But we'll get to them in a few minutes, but I'm coming to you here and I'm just hoping that everyone is staying safe, happy, and healthy. We're getting to the holidays here, and I know this is going to be a difficult time for some people, but again, like I said in one of my articles, just try and find the positive. We're going to continue to do what we're doing. Our members have been extremely understanding for everything that we're doing, being patient with us and understanding that we're in the same boat as you. You got to remember that we haven't been in the office since March. We've had a few people in and out here there. But we're always looking to improve ways that we can do this. And, it's kind of hard to believe here, but, we're coming to the end of December and we're actually going to be talking about doing another drive-in annual meeting. Not 100% confirmed on that right now, but obviously looking at the future and what we might be expecting here with the COVID-19, that is a definite possibility. We're going to try and find ways to make sure that we continue to stay safe with our members. The annual meeting is going to be a very big part of it. And, we were the first ones in the country to do it. So we're going to see if we might be able to do that again. But again, there's no promises on that, but just know that that's something that we're looking into. And we already do have to start planning for this right now. So stay tuned for more information on that. But the main thing is I just wanted to make sure that I got a podcast out here with a couple people, but to also wish you a very happy holiday season. It's been a very, very tough year for everybody, but at the same time, we're still getting through this, and we can't thank you enough for your help and your participation in all of these different aspects that we've been doing. Our turkey drawing is coming up, so make sure that you get your application or your submission in for that. But for the meantime here, I'm going to introduce Dana Kelroy and Mary Erickson of the WECN magazine. And that way you can get to learn a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes of that, and note that it's not just me putting together local pages, and there's a lot of work that goes into these magazines to bring you every month. So stay tuned for just a second, and we'll switch that over to be able to talk to both of them. Thank you. Okay, so again, we have Dana Kelroy and Mary Erickson here from the WECN magazine. So they are the editors for the magazine that you receive each and every month, and we're very thankful to have them. I work pretty closely with them. Well, I work with Mary very closely every month. She helps me out a lot, and Dana helps me out with many other things as well. So I want to thank you for both joining us. I guess for the first part is we'll just kind of start with Dana and, kind of tell us what your role is at the magazine, and then we'll just move right on to Mary. Again, thanks for joining us, and hope you guys enjoy this. So Dana?
Thanks for having us, Trevor. We're excited to do this. We have not had a chance to do anything like this before, so we're excited.
Yeah, it's like I said before, just putting you on the spot because you guys always do the printing stuff and don't get to be in front of the cameras and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm probably putting you on the spot and then, making you feel like a little anger inside too that I'm actually doing it. But I am grateful. No. I've known you guys for a number of years now, so it's fun to talk to you outside of this sense. And I think our members will enjoy this too, get a little behind the scenes fact of what the magazine actually does. And so Dana, you are the editor of the magazine. So you oversee pretty much everything that goes into the magazine. And then you also handle a lot of the statewide and national topics as well.
Yep, that's correct. For readers, probably the clearest way to look at it is if you take a look at the magazine you get every month, there are 4 pages that are in the very center section that are the local pages, and those are very specific to Richland Electric. But then the remaining pages around the outside are the general pages, and a lot of folks don't understand that our magazine goes to 20 different co-ops throughout the state, and we have a total readership of about 182,000 people. So for each co-op, we swap out that cover and we swap out those 4 pages on the inside. And I'm responsible for a lot of those outside content pages that's uniform for everyone across the state. And then folks like yourself pull together that co-op specific information, and Mary does all the different versions of all the local pages. And she also does some of the feature writing, especially probably one of our most features, which is the Wisconsin Favorites travel feature. So I kind of oversee content the broader audience, and then you guys work on the content for the more specific general audience.
So now you have to come up with, I know that you have your own section that you have pretty much right at the front of the magazine, coming up with, state and national issues. So there's a bunch of other content that gets thrown in those general pages as well. Is that something that you do, or do you have, outsourcing people come in? Does, Steve Freese, the president of the WECA, also usually puts an article in there as well. Do you have people outsourcing, or are you coming up with all that general information yourself?
No, and that's a good question. We actually go to a different number of different sources. One of them is NRECA, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. It's our national organization for all the electric co-ops in the nation. And a lot of times they come up with our secondary feature, which is, some broad energy efficiency or safety type issue that across the board, across the country, it's going to apply to any reader. So we share that content across the country. The second feature, well, it's actually the first feature, is usually a state specific, which we write internally within our Wisconsin office. And we usually make that pertinent to state legislation or state issues. But then, as you pointed out, Steve Freese, our president and CEO, he writes his own column. And that he likes to touch a lot on politics and legislative issues, because he's a former legislator. So he's got the background on that. But he also kind of touches on broader co-op issues. Mary writes our travel feature, like I'd mentioned, the Wisconsin Favorites, which is a very popular section. And then we also source our recipes from all over, different places. We get the recipes from many, many different places. On the spread on the 20 to 21, page 20 and 21, we have to go anywhere and everywhere. We get creative, and we like to try and make sure we're challenging everyone in their kitchens across the state. But then on page 22 is the reader recipes, and we love getting those from you, your members. We love getting those. So content from everywhere, including the readers. Another favorite one is Kids and Critters page.
Right.
That's one that I enjoy. We get that content from readers. We love when they send it in, and sometimes I think Mary can agree with me. That's the biggest smile, is some of the Kids and Critters submissions we receive are adorable, hilarious. They brighten our day. So. Oh,
absolutely. I know I've sent in pictures of my niece before. One picture that did go in there was the fact that we were getting ready for our wedding, and my niece and my sister were painting the white fence. And what people didn't know is she walked up and she put her hands on the fence, was looking at the cows, and, super, super cute picture, right? But then at the same time, I'm like, she's all paint on the other side because it was wet. And so it's like, all right, well, it's still a cute picture, but there's more of the story behind it. So I always thought that was pretty funny. But you do see some of those Kids and Critters that are just hilarious. And I know we've talked about this before, and I think we've talked about it pretty much everywhere, but do you ever feel that your recipes are the most important part of the magazine?
Sometimes we do hear that. And then I think a lot of your readers are familiar with our symbol search. Our new, we hide the little symbol somewhere in the magazine. And a lot of folks, when they enter in their guess or their answer as to where they found the symbol, they chime in with their favorite parts of the magazine. And recipes are definitely a popular one, but don't discount a lot of the other content. It's not as fun sometimes, but the energy efficiency, we hear from readers all the time about measures that they've taken, about things they've read in the magazine, and we love to hear that too. So, But yes, recipes, they're probably the most popular.
I think everybody would kind of agree with that. I've looked at them too before, and I will be honest, there are some recipes in there that look delicious, and there's some are like, nope, not doing that. But, and that's just me, but I know how popular they are. And I have gotten phone calls later, and the best part is I saw this one recipe once in this magazine from back in this time, and I'm like, I don't know. Dana, can you tell me what this one might be?
We do get requests like that. It'll be a family favorite from, 60s, 70s, 80s that they found in our magazine. And, by any chance, could you find it? you would be surprised. Often we
Sure.
can find it. We do have our archives. We can find it. It takes a little digging.
Yep.
But we can find it. So.
And that, and then that's probably something to point out too, is you can go on your website and you can search for some of these things too as well, right?
Limited though, limited. We don't go
Okay.
back that far on our website. So some of them on our website, you can go to just the contact us chat area, and you can send us a chat message, and we'll receive it about finding one of maybe those older recipes. But we do have most of the recent recipes are up on the website. So
Sure. Okay. So then, then we get to Mary, and Mary I work a lot closer with as far as, well, each and every month Mary and I are talking because she's helping me with doing the local pages that you receive. And so you not only do this for us, you do this for every other co-op. Well, I guess I can't say every co-op, but the majority of electric co-ops in Wisconsin. So what you're looking for basically is we send our content that we would like to be in our magazine, completely unfinished for the most part. I don't know what other co-ops do, but usually I send you an article of some kind and you put it together and make it look all pretty, because I can't do that. So, so you're doing that for how many co-ops?
Well, we have 20 co-ops taking the magazine. So we have 20 different issues at this moment. I have 20 separate local editors in it. First of all, you're selling yourself way too short, Trevor. I don't know if your readers, I'm going to just throw this in. We do have, I'm sure we're going to talk about it later, but we do have a yearly contest where we have a professional, review some selections of the magazine, and kind of, we just do it in the spirit of friendly competition and just to reward some good work. But Trevor finished second in those standings with Richland, so he's selling himself way too short when he says, I'm doing all the work here. But yeah, 20 different editors, and it really ranges, depending on the co-op, the size, how much staffing co-ops have. Some of the larger ones will have a communications person who is able to commit more time to it than others, where, they wear many hats, and some, at some co-ops, they wear more than others, just, by staffing. So it really ranges. There's a couple co-ops out there who are actually doing their own layout, and theirs go very quickly. My role is mostly to give it another set of eyes, make sure it's print ready. When it comes to production, that's kind of just me and Dana running that show with the printer. So lots of little things to check for, just some editing, try to keep it consistent in style. So, but there are only two like that. Most will just send me individual material, and some have very specific ideas about where they want it to go, or they might call me up and they've got a cool theme they want to work out, and we'll talk on the phone on, how we can try to flesh this out and make it work. And, some just, it's a pile of articles, and put them in as they fit. And it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together, which I love doing. So for me, it's fun.
Right.
Plus, I work with the greatest people in our field.
And you have a specific program, I'm assuming you use InDesign of some kind, which helps lay out all these different things. So you have templates that you can use to, I guess, speed up the process, because I can't imagine that this is very not time consuming for you, especially when it gets towards the deadlines. I mean, you're probably putting in a fair amount of hours by putting in together all of these magazines for the most part, right?
Oh, well, definitely. And it's, of course, on a monthly cycle, everything is in a wave. You're right. There can, it's just 2 weeks of the month are okay. And then the next 2 weeks, you have lunch at the computer because you can't leave because there's so much coming in. So that's what makes it, can be kind of challenging. But yeah, obviously I've been doing this a long time. I know the local editors very well. We have a fantastic group of very highly skilled local editors. And I would like to throw in too that I've been doing this for many years, and definitely a trend that I've seen is, just everybody raising their games over the last 10 or 15 years. I think probably that's been a nationwide trend as well, that co-ops are, communication has just become a bigger priority for a lot of co-ops, and they're putting more resources in it. And it really shows in the quality of work. Across the board, we have a very high level of work amongst all of our local editors.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this before too, that even in sessions that we've had that in the past, and we have our own communicators group that we talk to with Dana and Mary, and how important it is that your communications people is are right there, with the front lines on being in some of these big topics, because they're the people that are going to be talking to the public, a lot of times, and how important it is for them to be informed so they can get it to the right platforms, whether it be social media, the magazine, radio, whatever it's going to take. So I agree with you. And that, not to kind of switch subjects here, but I think there's a good transition here that, first off, again, I thank you for the award for the second place finish. I'm not much of a second place kind of guy, but I am very, very appreciative of it. It shows a lot of hard work, but at the same time, you as a magazine are one of the tops in the country as well. And I remember this from last discussions that we had at the communicators conference. I think maybe it was, is that you're second place to who, right? It's that one magazine, but there's a lot of credit to be out of all the cooperatives and all the statewides. There's a lot of credit that goes back to you guys, because what our readership, knows about you is that, yeah, you're putting together the local pages, but at the same time, literally what they're receiving is one of the best magazine subscriptions for electric co-ops in the country. Am I still correct in saying that? I mean,
well, yeah, and we're actually, the deadline for submitting our 2020 materials is this week, so got to get cracking on that. But yeah, we have finished in the top handful for a number of years, and we're very, very proud of that. And we put that back too on our member co-ops. A lot of that success is because of the quality of information you guys put in on the local pages and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to, are we useful to the end reader? Have we helped them understand their co-op? Have we helped them, be tied more in with the community? Do they understand some of the issues that the co-op faces and what that means to them as a member and an owner? Did we check those boxes? Those are the things that matter to us. Are we useful to those end users?
Right. Yep. Yep. And it goes the same way, too, when we, you talk about the lifer award that we're talking about. It's like, yeah, that's great. But did we hit the messaging? I'm not in it for awarding for any kind. I didn't even learn about it until a few years ago for the most part. But, are we getting the message across to our members? Are we providing the right content, which is the same thing that you're doing? And maybe you want to talk about so when you're talking about, for example, for the lifer award, we submit 3 articles from our August. Oh, is it August to August?
July to August, or August to, yeah.
Somewhere in that nature. You got to submit what you think are your 3 articles. Then you send them off to judges and then they get graded and so on. But is that the same way that it works for this national award that you guys kind of are up against? I mean, is it very similar?
Roughly the same. The only major difference is we allow, at the statewide level, we allow you guys to submit any of your 3 best months. For the national level, it has to be 3 consecutive months. So it's a little more challenging, but pushes you to up your game. You've got to be on your game 3 in a row. So, but roughly almost the same. There's a lot of the same criteria that are between the two.
And that's hard too. I mean, even like 3 consecutive months of having, very key content, that is not easy to do. Hence why I rely on Mary for some of this stuff. It's hard to come up with those 3 topics or 3 magazines that you're going to do. So, I mean, you guys are doing a fantastic job there. And there is some recognition that needs to be done for you. I know you're just going to put it back on member co-ops and so on. And yes, I know how it works with you guys, but you guys do a very good job too. And you deserve the recognition. So
thank you, Trevor.
Make sure you take that, just like you would tell it to me. So payback. So we talked about, what each person's role, but Mary, you go back into, the traveling. You do the Wisconsin favorites, and you've been down to our area before, and you've been to our annual meetings. Dana, you have well, but you've done like Eagle Cave and all these different scenarios. So you're finding locations for people to basically go and visit and writing about these topics. Now, not only does that help those businesses that are running these situations, but it also gives people kind of a new aspect on where they can visit that's outside of the normal. And I got to think that during this COVID-19 pandemic, some of those places have been, very well hurt, but at the same time, you've given people an opportunity to go check out something different that they wouldn't normally do. So a lot of traveling done on your part. Do you go all over to find these spots, or do you just kind of hear?
I typically go all over. Obviously, I have not been in recent months. What I try to do, and by the way, that's one of my, well, it's hard to say. I love working with all the local editors, but I feel like getting to write these Wisconsin favorite stories, it's kind of a privilege. Sometimes when I'm off doing the story, like, okay, Eagle Cave, I had a great day at Eagle Cave. The people were great. I spent my work day. I had a little moment of, I'm being paid to go wander around this campsite on this beautiful summer day and go see this cave. So that is a really fun part of my job, and that I feel fortunate to do. And I've learned so much about what else is out there in the state. And yes, exactly, that's our goal, is to find something kind of off the beaten path. We want the story to be entertaining and give people some, you know, trigger some ideas of places they can explore, and also kind of promote. Our requirement is that it needs to be, doesn't have to be on a co-op lines, although we do, but some sort of co-op connection, places
Sure.
that are supported by a co-op in some way, or, you know, just connected somehow. We don't go to the Milwaukee area, for example. Everything is, you know, we're promoting the small communities in the rural areas that our co-ops serve. But it's been a challenge since the pandemic, because Dana and I have tried very hard with all our stories to stay responsible, to be responsible toward our readers. We cannot, first of all, many places are closed, so that just answers, I had a schedule of places for the year, and that obviously was blown up. Most of them are closed, or, you know, have other restrictions. But we've been trying to avoid encouraging a mass of people to go to the same part of the state at one time.
Right.
You know, first of all, people are being advised against traveling that far, and we can't have a cluster of, we can't be encouraging the stream of people to go to this one place. So I would say that's, you know, for me, that's probably been one of the biggest challenges as far as magazine content, is kind of recrafting that whole Wisconsin favorite so that it still stays within our theme of promoting Wisconsin, promoting rural Wisconsin, but is safe, is at the same time safe in a time of pandemic. So we've gone more toward, we did the Star Power story, for example, that's promoting, it's something that essentially you can do close to home. You can find some place close to home. This is a little out of our normal, you know, guides. It's not really, we're steering off track a bit with it in our topics, just trying to stay responsible. And it's been a challenge. It's been a fun challenge. I think we've come up with some good things, but.
Right.
Yeah, and I think our reader feedback on what Mary has been able to do in 2020 shows that readers are appreciating. We're not telling you all to congregate in one place, but we've gotten some really stellar feedback, especially that Star Power article about how many people, all you got to do is step outside. And, you know, Mary gave a lot of great tips and talked to some good experts in co-op territories about what to look for in the night sky. And that's a great thing. If you're feeling a little antsy and homebound, step outside and start, you know, taking in things like that. So I think Mary's done a really creative and great job with thinking of those types of things to encourage our readers to do.
Yeah, and it's you know, you talk about that Star Power thing. It's almost like you take it for granted. Like you have that every night almost, and you never even think about it until somebody clicks it in your head. And we also had a reader that was very interested in it, and he does a lot of stargazing. He was extremely grateful for it. And it's just one of those little things where you're like, man, why didn't I think of this before? Why does it take somebody, or why does it take a pandemic for me to do this? And you know, it's hard to believe that those are situations that we're in right now. And so when you're dealing with, you know, these Wisconsin favorites, you know, do you call people, or still try and get stories, or are you just kind of trying to find new routes or new people? I mean, as far as.
Well, you know, they come, I get some suggestions. Lots of times that we travel for other purposes. We've been to your annual meeting. I've been to it a number of times. We go out to the various co-ops to their annual meetings. And even just when I'm traveling with my family, if I pass something that looks interesting, I'll write it down and I should call and find out if that's on co-op lines. Maybe that's worth seeing. I always call before. I never do a story without checking with someone. Usually I requires an interview as well. And I'm kind of old school. I'd much rather do an interview face to face. I think you need to be somewhere to really and talk to a person face to face and see this place to really accurately write about it. But of course we can't do that right now. So I'm doing more phone outreach than I normally would.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. Just, when you can talk to people face to face, you can read them a little bit more. When you're on the phone and you got that dead silence, you're like, well, I guess I will go to the next topic and try and get this to work. But
exactly,
so it's hard to do that. And, you talked about the stargazing. We'll go back to that. This, we're getting up on the holidays here now. And, as far as how COVID has affected everything. And my wife had said, we should try and do something with, instead of doing gifts or providing gifts, give us the experience. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'd much rather do that. Obviously we have Maverick, who's 16 months old and driving us nuts. And, but he also provides so much joy, and we'd like to try these different things. And, so we're kind of trying to figure out something new, but what a year to do that when you got COVID-19 and you can't really do anything. We want to try and get him to the water park at some point in time, but it's like, I'm not taking him anywhere and I don't feel like we need to. And, so it gets back to, well, how are we at with COVID-19? And obviously you guys are working at home, and I'm assuming you have been for some time, just similar to us. So how's the transition been going from doing your guys' job, because you have to rely on a lot of communication. I don't know if it needs to be physical or hand-to-hand or, all that, but you guys are still doing, obviously communicating through emails just fine because everything's going through all right. So is working from home really been an issue? I mean, or what are you finding that the complications are?
Well, actually, I think it's interesting that Shannon touched on the Richland employees working from home on your first podcast, and it's kind of the same thing. I can't imagine doing this even just a few years ago, but it really shows the importance of high-speed internet, that we would not be able to do our jobs if we did not have broadband in our homes. And now Mary and I are both near Madison. We're in a much more populated area than most of our readers are throughout the state. So we're lucky that, we have, for example, I had my pick of high-speed internet providers. I realize most of our readers don't have that. So I found myself very lucky to be able to get my job done from home because of where I live. And, for us, we work for the statewide association that, we part of our job is the magazine, but another part is lobbying. And we see that as a big issue for 2021, is really pushing for high-speed broadband throughout the state so that everyone can, do their job from home or use telemedicine from home or work on virtual school from home. That's not that easy in far-flung rural Wisconsin. So, we see that as a major issue for our co-op members, and we're lucky that working from home has been, knock on wood, so far pretty good.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard to believe that we're in 2020 and this is an issue, but it's not, it's rural America in general. It's not just Wisconsin that everybody's having these. And, the hard part is explaining when it comes to broadband, how much it costs to do it. It's not, yes, it's an absolute necessity, but it is extremely expensive to do. And that's the hard part is, when you're trying to make that argument, it's like, okay, we can probably do some of this stuff, but there's a lot we got to take into account. It's not like we're just going to go start out and go plow cable and you're going to have broadband. There's a whole lot more to go into it. Obviously that's above me and I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I just know that it is very expensive to do, but I think that's probably going to be a very big priority for 2021 is broadband is going to be up there. And one of the things that we're very proud of is that Shannon is on the broadband task force of the governor in Madison. So, I think that's a big part especially for electric co-ops, because he's done this with, our Genuine Telecom that we used to have. And he's very familiar with this. And I think he would do a good job representing electric co-ops and how we can be a part of this and how we can move this further. So is that kind of what are you expecting for 2021 to be pretty similar to this year? Obviously 2020 is going down in the books as just one of the worst years ever. And it's hard to argue that, but what are your expectations for 2021 then? I mean,
you know, we were sent home on March 13th, Friday the 13th, and I was told, pack up your computer. We're going to be home for 2 weeks. And I was like,
yeah.
God, I'm kidding. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, here we are in December and I haven't been back. So nobody could have seen this coming or seen how it worked out. But I think we've touched on this in a few of our feature articles in the last year on broadband and the need for it in rural Wisconsin. And the magazine goes to legislators at the Capitol, and we're hoping they see that, and we're hoping that they understand that this is what this means for rural readers in rural Wisconsin. But we've also touched on some of the things that electric co-ops have done in 2020 that have been, you know, stretched you guys, and you guys are the perfect example of that. Changing your annual meeting, you guys were one of the forefront on doing the drive-in annual meeting, and it's been replicated a number of times across the state and even the country now. But we've done stories about how annual meetings were changed because of the pandemic and how co-ops have adapted. Mary did a story on co-op month and how normally co-ops have their big get-togethers and big co-op month celebrations. There's usually some giant community event. That didn't happen. So many of you co-ops had really creative ways, drive-in trick-or-treating and things like that. And Mary had done the feature story on that. So what does 2021 bring? Who knows? But I think Mary and I know we're going to continue to adapt our magazine coverage to tell the story, because that's one thing we've talked about is we're a little bit of a historical record. And when we look back 20, 30, 40 years from now, we've got a few really good feature stories that kind of paint the picture of what 2020 looks like. I hope it's different. I hope it's back to normal, but we're going to continue to best serve your readers with content they can use. And Mary's actually been kind of at the forefront too of, we've done a lot more energy savings because we realize a lot of folks are out of work. Budgets, yep. Home budgets are tighter. We've done a lot more energy efficiency and energy savings, and also low income assistance, any assistance that folks need. We've provided a lot of the resources, and we've done entire feature stories on that. Julie Lund, one of our feature writers, she's done that now, I think twice in the last year, 2 different resources. If folks are having troubles paying their energy bill, here are some places you can go. So again, 2020, 2021, question mark, but we're going to continue to help readers out in any way we can and provide information that's useful. I think that's all we can do. Mary, what do you plan to do?
Same thing. We'll just adapt. I don't see this path changing anytime soon. So I expect we're going to be on this same path, not just working from home, but still, yes, tailoring our information so that it's useful. Helps the folks, you know, when we get information on resources, we've put it in the magazine. Anything that would help rural folks, anything we hear from, you know, our cohorts in rural housing, if there's something that would be useful, we've given it a page. I think we're going to continue doing that, right, at least through the spring. I just don't see this ending anytime soon. So, you know, I hope I'm wrong. I would love it if I were wrong, but we'll keep going. We've adapted. The magazine is still going out. I think we work very hard, as Dana has said, to make sure it's useful for our members, that it's responsible, that it reflects the fact that we're conscious of the fact that a lot of families are struggling right now through absolutely zero fault of their own. And we want to do, everything that we can, use the magazine to support people, to use it for, for positive. So to help people through this. So I think we're just going to be continuing to do that for a while before we can
move on. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I completely agree. And it's the bad part of, you get the bad rap of being a utility and all these things, but we talk, so our members not only get the, help from us as far as if they need assistance, they also get a help from you guys. I mean, it's so, you help us, we help them. They got multiple outlets, multiple resources that we're trying to help and trying to provide for our members. I actually look back at, you had mentioned our member appreciation picnic. In 2019, we did our member appreciation picnics, and for the first time, we did a focus on energy Techniart kit where members could come in and buy, their light bulb kits and all this stuff. And now I'm sitting here going, well, that couldn't have timed out any better. I mean, you get multiple kits, multiple light bulbs, LEDs, all these different things, and then you're going to use them in 3 months, and it's, focus on energy by providing all their resources that they can have. It's just everybody understands that we're all in the same boat, and it's like you said, it's no fault of their own. And you got what's determined essential, and how you got these local businesses that have to occupy 25%, and it's kind of one of those. You're like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I wish we could do more, and we're just doing the best that we can. But we feel for all those people that are there. And, we do everything that we can to try and help them, just like you do. So it's like multiple avenues and multiple resources that can help. But, on top of that, you had mentioned the annual meeting, and I don't know, we're still getting calls from that. I mean, it's insane. Never one of those situations where we in our wildest dreams would have thought about it. When we decided that we were going to do a drive-in annual meeting, we later found out that we were the first, and we didn't have a blueprint. We didn't know if anybody else had done this before. And to this day, I still think we're the first, but without having an actual fact check, I don't know if we were or not. Maybe some other tiny co-op out there right now is just fuming because they had done it multiple times already. But anyways, you guys were both there. And we thank you for help. Well, you greatly helped me out because I didn't have to go around and take the pictures. So, members got to see you, at the event, and, it's hard to believe that in 2021, it's December of 2021 or December of 2020, we're already discussing the potential of having another drive-in annual meeting. Like you had said, we don't foresee this slowing down anytime soon, especially with the holidays coming up here. I just think it's going to be prolonged. But, it's kind of hard to believe that, now we're going to be seasoned vets on this, and we're not even what we thought was going to be a one-time thing. Like you had said, we're going to do this for a couple months, couple weeks, and then that's going to be it. And then sure enough, that did not happen. And now we're potentially planning for another drive-in annual meeting, which I think could turn out to be kind of a national thing. We learned a lot from our annual meeting, as far as, what difference, what changes that we can make as far as having the radio station there. Some things that we never even would have thought of that can actually apply to our annual meeting. So you guys got to witness that for the first time too. And I could see the excitement on your face. I mean,
we were excited. We said it did feel a little bit like witnessing history. And we said, a lot of our coverage in the magazine, we say will be, a little bit of a historical snapshot. And we said your annual meeting was a perfect example of, we're going to look back on this in 2030.
It was a privilege to be there to witness it, I thought.
Yeah, I would agree.
As Dana said, I felt like I was witness to history, and I was lucky to have had a front row seat.
Yeah, and like I said, I thank you guys enough because, so if the readership doesn't know, they were there helping me by taking pictures because I was talking with the radio station and making sure you could actually hear what was going on. But so they did me a big favor by going around and taking all the beautiful pictures that you saw on our Facebook page. I mean, that really put into perspective on how this all goes, and kind of being able to look back on it, you're just like, man, that was crazy, but we're going to have to do it again. I didn't think that. And then Julie was there as well, and she helped a lot with doing, setting up with the news outlets and news outreach, and that helped a lot too. And we, Alexis Dunham from NRECA, who is still actually in, I believe she's in lacrosse still, so she hasn't even went back either. Which, in case you were curious, NRECA is based out of Washington, D.C., and so she's from the Westby area, and she kind of flew back here and stayed in Stoddard area, and then is still in this area. So she's still doing her work from home too, and she's actually in Washington, D.C. So it just kind of shows to, how this all works. But so while doing this, I recently, for the first time ever, we applied for the Spotlight on Excellence Award for Touchstone Energy.
Good.
Yeah, I was like, well, cool. It's an award. That's fantastic. I'm terrible at tooting my own horn. I hate doing it. But there was such a team effort and there were so many people to do. So while filling out this application, they're talking about, well, did you use any outside resources and all this? And I'm like, dear God, who didn't we have? And then Alexis had helped me with our number reach, I guess is what you would say, on how many people this reached. And so I'm like, yeah, we did our 3,500, and then we had 500 or 200 some shares on Facebook, so on and so on. She goes, yeah, that's not enough. I'm like, okay. She's like, no, you got the NBC 15 and all that it's like, yeah, you reached about 900,000 people on this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I got your help on this. So hopefully we will be able to come away with that. But that's a testament to our members too, on putting our faith in us and being able to do that. And again, thank you guys for coming on.
Well, and I think it was a great service to your members too. Your members got the information they needed. And, I feel like I could tell from a few of them, they were glad to be out of the house, even though everybody stayed safely in their cars. I think it was a service to them. And I think if that's the plan for Richland for 2021, you guys know how to do it. So
yeah.
I was going to add that too, Trevor. I saw a lot of happy people. I mean, obviously, safely in their cars with their windows up, didn't talk to people the way I normally would have at an annual meeting, but happy, smiling waves, people with families, with little kids in the car. And, I passed one car and they were all having popcorn like they were at the movie. And yeah, I think it was something to do. And it felt like I felt it. I felt part of a community. I felt togetherness there. And that's what we had been so missing,
Right.
we are again. So I agree with Dana. I think you provided a great something to do and something to make people feel connected to each other once again, which.
Yeah. And the hard part to believe about that is, we're talking about a month. I mean, we'd been home for a month and we'd had this basically the start of the pandemic for a month. I mean, and now we're in December, so now people, you can just imagine they're just like, kind of losing it. But at that time, it was hard for me to tell people, we'd had a lot of questions on, well, how did you do all this? How did you do all this? And I'm like, listen here, guys, we have 3,500 members. You have 120,000 members. I can't tell you how to do that. I don't know what kind of space you guys are going to have. And the hard part is explaining to them, like, yeah, you have members that have gotten out and done this. We had this at the very beginning, at the highlight of, the pandemic, when people did not leave their home. That was the toughest part. And then you had, like we said before, the essential businesses where people could not go to work. And then the stimulus checks came out, and it made a big difference, and it changes on so much. And so you'd hear later on what people were able to do. And we're like, that's just awesome that, they were still able to follow the model. But no, it's definitely something to remember. And again, thank you guys for helping out with that. But, it's been a weird year, and I think it's, like I said, it's going to continue to be that way. But I guess all we can hope for is that the holiday season is going to come up here and we can do the best that we can to have a Merry Christmas and, Happy New Year kind of thing. It's like I've said to people before, it's that, to be honest with you, for lack of a better word, this sucks. Everybody's tired of it, but in one of my articles, I said, there is a positive. You can always find a positive in some way, shape, or form. I said that my positive is that I've gotten to see Maverick from now when he was 6 months old to now he's 16. So 16 months old. I wouldn't have gotten to see that much time with him had I been at work. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, if you've gotten to do those. Maybe Dana has a new education with virtual learning. She's certified teacher now I would think.
No, I don't think so. I do have a fourth grader in Dane County. The kids K through 2 can go to school. So my daughter is in second grade. She goes to school 2 days a week. And then I have a son in fourth grade who is virtual. He has not been back to school since March. So that's a little different than a lot of rural areas of the state. So yeah, it gets interesting.
Yeah. But I just, like I said before, it's hard to do, but you can always try and find the positives in that.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what we're going to do. But I think for that point in time, I wanted to thank you guys again for joining us. I think that's probably as good a spot as any to, otherwise we could just talk all day. I have no fear of that.
We could talk all day, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We are communicators after all, so it's just maybe, if anything, maybe it'll be sick of seeing the face-to-face thing. We'll just rather shoot off emails and communicate that way, or talk on the phone. But again, I can't thank you guys enough for joining me on this. I think our readership will really like it, and I hope you guys had an okay time. Hopefully nothing was too personal or anything like that, but I just wanted to make sure I get the credit out there for you guys as well too. You guys help us out greatly, as far as putting together the magazine and helping us out with annual meetings or picnics. And I think I speak for all the co-ops throughout Wisconsin, at least, on, thanking you for all the work that you guys do as well. I know what you're going to say. You're going to put it back on me. Don't do that. Just accept the thank you, and we'll just go from there. So
thank you, Trevor.
So if I don't talk to you guys, anytime soon, but I'm sure I will. I hope you guys have a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will get through this just like we always do. So
that's right. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for having us.
Good deal. Thanks, guys.
We're the folks who bring the power to keep our country strong. Your co-op electric service, the place where